23rd Psalm has given comfort to many people down through the years. What I've learned in using the 23rd Psalm is that the first sentence is basically the psalm. And the verses that follow after that are illustrations of that first sentence. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. I might say, in the middle of that, Joe had no fear of death. I don't think Linda appreciated probably at nighttime when he told her good night. But I understand that part of his saying good night was, I hope I don't wake up in the morning. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The one verse that always troubled me until I finally read somebody's explanation of it was, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I always put that on the back burner. I didn't want to really deal with it. But the person who was interpreting the Hebrew and making some comments on the scripture said it's just as appropriate to say, yea, though I walk through the valley of dark shadows, I will fear no evil. And that's something all of us do most every day, is to have shadows. We're not sure, it's not really clear what's going to happen. But we do know that we don't have to worry about it. Not get ulcers and not get all upset. God will take care of us. Favorite scripture of mine is one that I alluded to on different ones of our parts of our conversations at times. And when we had lunch, we didn't just talk religion. I have to tell you a little later. In my opinion, Joe was a very religious man. He just didn't talk about it a lot. It's more how we live rather than what we say that makes a difference. And if I say that now, I won't have anything to say later. The 14th chapter of John's Gospel tells us, as Jesus stood there and talked to his very close friends in that upper room, prior to his being arrested, prior to going through the Good Friday miseries, prior to the celebration of Easter morning. He said, let not your heart be troubled. If you believe in God, believe also in me. For in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go now to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself. So where I am, there you may be also. For I am the way, the truth, and the life. If you love me, keep my commandments. I will pray the Father, he shall give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever, even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it seeth him not, neither knoweth him. But you know him, for he dwelleth with you. He shall be in you. I will not leave you comfortless. I will come to you, and because I live, you shall live also. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. At this time, Uncle Ben Soriano is going to share with us, and following his remarks, Brother Tom's going to share with us. I'm not worried about what Ben's going to say. I'm looking forward to hearing what Tom has. Mr. Soriano.
Thank you. If I had my choice, I'd rather play my senior recital. Anyway, I had to break that. Thank you. Mr. Sarah, Mr. Ray, Dad, Pop, Papa Joe, Uncle Joe, Giuseppe, Joe, my best friend. I was lucky enough to meet Joe in 1974 when he enabled me to be a band camp assistant here at Madison High School. And I did that for 2 years. And when I had graduated, there was an opening in the staff. Mr. Ayers left, and it came to my attention later on that my buddy went down to the board office, closed the door, and did one of these things with the fist. He said, "This guy, gotta get him up here. Gotta get him on the staff. I'll do anything it takes to get him." And he did. And I got hired. And I've been lucky enough to be with him and in Madison with all these kids and people and everything all this time. I need to tell you that this is important. Keep in mind what I'd like to share with you is from 1974 to present. I know that there are many people that could say many things about, I believe 1960 is when he was hired. Is that, yes, that could speak from that time, and rightfully so. So keep in mind that there will be an avenue for that, I'm sure, as I speak a little bit later. Even though I was hired as the assistant, my buddy always made it clear to other educators and other people that I was his colleague, not the assistant. And I really, I never really had a chance to thank him for that, but I always remember that and I appreciated it. So thanks, Joe, for letting me keep, I was 22, and he said, "I'm an equal." Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that respect and treatment, the kind that you gave to everybody else. Thank you to the family, especially for Linda, for asking me to speak. I'm going to give it my best shot. I'll see how far I can go. Will you please raise your hand if you were a student in some capacity of Mr. A's? Oh, Madonna. As he would say, Madonna. God bless you. How about a fellow educator? How about a performing musician, professional performing musician? Yeah. We looked around and we saw all those people with their hands up. What an impact this man made on our lives. Something else. I know because he spoke so many times to me on those sometimes lonely car rides to gigs and, the bus trips on the band trips and so on and so forth, how much he loved his family, his mom and dad, Linda, Kathy, Joe, and now their spouses, Diane and Tom. I always remember that because I didn't get married till I was 30, and I'm a lucky guy because I have a wonderful wife and a beautiful daughter. But I always remembered that because I wanted to carry that with me. And it was important to Joe. It still is. A lot of people don't know this. Joe is a well-rounded musician. I don't know if you knew that what everything he could do or he did. I know obviously he played saxophone and clarinet, and he played all the saxes and clarinet, but he also played drums, what they called a cocktail set in his father's band. His father had a little band. His father was a sax player and a little combo, and he played the cocktail set in that. He sang in a vocal jazz group. If you were over at the service there, you heard some Four Freshmen music, and Joe sang. He loved that group, and he sang in the harmony part. He sang in a Four Freshmen group at Ohio State, and I'm pretty sure he sang with the Madison Chorale. Thank you. I wanted to be sure of that. And he was in our group, the Busman's Holiday. He played piano in our quartet, which we played numerous gigs all over the place. So he practiced what he preached. He talked about teaching and so forth, but he could do all these things. That's wow. What an inspiration. He talked to me a lot too on these trips, as well as teaching in school and so forth, about how happy and proud he was to be in Madison and associated with Madison schools and the Madison band. Joni, I hope I get this right, but he was very concerned about, as much as he could, he did everything he could to be sure that when the band was in a parade or in a performance or so, he did not want people to say, oh, there's that Madison mediocre band again. No, that bothered him a lot. He wanted the musicians and the band and the program to excel to the very limits of their ability, and that was important to him. I don't know how many times I heard him say Madison mediocre. He supported the town quite a bit also by participating in the many parades and Old Fashioned and so forth, and he paid a special attention and honored the veterans by, as much as he and the kids would allow, provide music for various veterans affairs and events and so forth. It was very important to him, I know that, and it made an influence on me about how important that was to not only the town, but our country. He and Linda were very comfortable living in Madison. We talked about it many times. I know Linda just recently was telling me how much they trust the people in the community and family that they're comfortable with. Remember you said that? Yeah. Thanks. I know, again, he was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award for his contributions of music in the town. That's something. Not everybody can do that. God bless him for that. I believe that the plaque memorial right behind Mrs. Bevan, if you have never seen that, you've missed it. You need to see that, okay? Education. Mr. A always strived to treat every young person that he was in contact with very special care. Every child got his attention, no matter what their ability was, their background. It wasn't important. That means nothing. You're going to get the best that I have to offer. I saw that many times, even when I was coming up watching him before I was hired. I said, oh, this is something. He instilled, and something that's still going on, and I'm glad I tried to keep it going as much as I could. And Mrs. Maya is still, God bless her, still believing in this. And that's the family of band. We're all a family. Everybody takes care of each other else. Another thing that I always liked, the band room was a safe zone. know, if kids were having a bad day or if they were not comfortable at lunchtime or something and they needed to, come on down to the band room. We'll talk, or just sit and relax. It's safe in here, and there's support. So that was important and it made an impression on me, but most important, it made an impression on all the kids who exercised that. I know one of his biggest goals in education was that everyone strive to do their best. Being in band was far more an important experience than just playing a couple B-flat concert scale notes or something. Sure, that at first may be, you know, poor, but in time you can overcome that. But it's the experience of the program and the idea that really, you know, sets the pace, and that's Joe. He placed the fact that band teaches not just whole notes and half notes, it teaches life skills, many of which you remember, and those of you that were a student, you remember and are still carrying with you and passing them on to your kids. Excellent. One thing that I remember that, you know, sometimes Joe would give a speech and I would watch the kids in the band room and some kids, you know, they're listening and some kids are like, speech number 43 or something. But me, I'm like, my eyes are this big because I'm going to learn something. But one thing he said a lot to the kids about, mostly to, you know, juniors and sophomores, and he'd tell the seniors too, but he talked about when you graduate, I don't ever want to hear you say the phrase, I wish I could have done more. Because while you're there in school and so on, put everything you have into it. So I remember that vividly, and I wish, he did not like that, I wish I would have done more. You know, less than a week ago, before it was really getting rough, I wanted to ask Joe a question. I called, and he wasn't in the best at that time. He was resting. And so I asked the question to Linda because, as you know, Joe and Linda are 55 years together. And of course, she was an educator and they're together, so it's two are one. So I asked Linda, I said, do you think Joe had any regrets about the fact that he did not have a band every year that was like double or triple A, you know, played the hardest music in the world and got ones and contests and had medals and banners and everything else like that? Did that ever, you know, did he have any regrets about that? Because there are programs where, you know, like Joe used to say, the janitor could take that band to contest and they'd get a 1, you know. Okay, so I wondered about that, and her response was that both Linda and Joe, they both believed that it was more important that each child work at his or her best and discover what could be achieved with that hard work. Did I get that right? Okay, see, I listened to you too. I listened. With hard work, commitment, and dedication. I'm sorry I left that out. That was important. How true for, you know, anything in life, not just music. Mr. A was a very patient man. He rarely got angry, but when he did, sometimes, you know, he'd nudge and then he'd put that, but it wasn't often. I was the bad one for that, okay? I know that I learned he was told by his, I think it was uncle, help me out, who was a school administrator, that always treat when he was starting to teach, always treat the kids as if they were your own. Thank you, I appreciate it. If I make a mistake, let me know. I know that there are many people and students and so forth that have many stories about Mr. A and how his, how he and what he believed in and taught impacted their lives. But obviously time will not permit that to occur here. So I would like to encourage you, and I know Joe would, share those memories with each other. Telephone, write a letter. This is a good chance to use the social media content in a positive way, because that's what he wanted. He wanted that. So I encourage you to do that. And someday down the road, if there is another type of celebration and so forth, there'll be another avenue to share, because that's the band, family band experience which you want. You know, I asked my daughter, and also Joni, I asked her in putting this together, I mean, I really worked on this because, you know, my daughter is a writing instructor at John Carroll, and so I sent her this after I put it down, and I said, can you help me and fix it, you know? Anyway, she said, Dad, you know, good. She made two suggestions. She said, first of all, tell the people what you really learned from him. And I already did. I'm telling you that I learned from him. When I came out of college, I thought, okay, man, I'm going to make everybody play their instrument like Charlie Parker or Robert Marcellus or, you know, Buddy Red. Everybody's going to play it, or I'm going to, you know, throw a bomb in your porch, as Joe would say. But, you know, in watching Joe and learning from him and watching the kids react, no, that's not the top priority. Learning how to work together and doing your best and discovering things about yourself is number one. And I learned that from you. So everything I've been reading that I told you I watched, and I tell my daughter, I did learn that from you. Okay? There's more than just pushing some keys down. I left one little thing out. I do remember how important it was that Joe talked about his family, but also he enjoyed riding in cars. He had a little Fiat that the kids in Joey's senior year put together for him, and he had all kind of cars. I mean, just he enjoyed driving and riding. Took his mother out on Route. He liked Route 84, both of them did, and Middle Ridge. They were very fond of riding on Middle Ridge under the trees all the time. They took long rides together. So I left that out earlier, but I did want to share that with you. Now, this comes as a small, I could be here all night with anecdotes, some good and some... This one comes at a special request from Kathy. Back in the 70s, Joe and I taught at Ayers. We taught private lessons at Ayers Music, and of course Dave Ayers, the proprietor, was there. And it just so happened one day we were talking, we were all in a fraternity, but not the same fraternity, but we were in a fraternity, okay? And we got to talking about fraternity life. So anyway, the movie Animal House comes out, okay? So Joe calls me, and he said, Ben, Animal House is in this theater in Painesville. Let's go see it. I said, well, Joe, I'm going to stay home tonight, say the rosary. And... Oh, come on, Ben, you got it. All right.